everyone, and today we are going to be doing my Digipak Research, and as you can see from my laptop we're going to be starting off with Troye Sivan and his album Blue Neighborhood. Now Troye Sivan, his music comes under the genre of electropop, and it can also be said it comes under the genre of dream pop. So his album cover, I would say, definitely reflects this in terms of its colours and everything, which is what I'll be going through today. Unfortunately, unlike Halsey, whose album I'll be showing you later, I do not have the album Blue Neighborhood, even though I'd want it. I just listen to it on Spotify, which is, I'm thinking, what most people do nowadays, but I do have Halsey's, who I'll be showing you later. So for the purpose of this video, and for you guys to visualise the album and to actually see it rather than me trying to describe it, I am going to be using another video which I managed to get off of YouTube by this channel called House of CDs. Obviously I'm giving credit to them, it's their video, not mine, and I'm going to obviously be putting that video alongside me talking. So obviously prior to talking about the album, I did do my research on the meaning behind the album and the album's name. Now obviously I looked up Blue Neighborhood meaning, and obviously this wasn't specific to Troye himself, so obviously the first thing that came up was the link to the Urban Dictionary, and I was curious. I wasn't going to reject this definition because maybe it could link to Troye and his album meaning. So obviously the definition for Blue Neighborhood in the Urban Dictionary is a state of depression at which someone stays, and I didn't reject this straight away. I did consider it a little bit, thinking that there are some dark undertones to Troye's music videos and his songs. Obviously I've listened to the songs a lot of times, so I did obviously try to link this to, you know, the definition on the Urban Dictionary and think it could be plausible, it could be the meaning. But then again, I obviously did want to research specifically to Troye, and there was an interview of him talking about what Blue Neighborhood meant to him, and it was actually a lot, very different, a lot simpler to what I had seen on the Urban Dictionary, and I will show the video to you guys now.
For me it was about, it was a lyric that I wrote in one of my songs called Wild that was like, leave this blue neighborhood. I grew up in a really small community and kind of just, you know, felt that small town-ish vibe and kind of fantasized about going away and like doing things like this.
So obviously what you can see from the snippets of the video that I've showed you, he just takes the Blue Neighborhood from his song Wild as a lyric and thinks of it as a place for him, and I don't think it relates to this state of depression, considering he fantasizes about it and wants to explore the big world, explore its Blue Neighborhood. So after obviously watching this video, I did decide to reject this definition. So I really do like the front cover of Blue Neighborhood. The colours are amazing, the effects on it are amazing. It definitely does match the conventions of the genre electropop and dream pop. So in terms of colour, as you can see, the majority of it is blue, which does match the title, Blue Neighborhood, and as you can see we do have bits of like pink and oranges to match a sunset or maybe even a sunrise, and you can see Troye standing in front of it. You want to get the star image, you know, it's his album, you want to make it recognisable. So the colours definitely do match the conventions of electropop, being, you know, pink and purple and blue, and we've definitely got a lot of blue here. The picture again is tinted very blue, including the houses. They're not very distinct, they're just all blue and in the background, but at the same time this background photo does match the title of the album, Blue Neighborhood. So there is a lot of continuity with the photo and the name of the album, and the effect on it is, it doesn't look like a very clear photo that's just been taken. It's kind of set out like a drawing, like a painting, and I think there's a hidden meaning behind this, and my opinion on it is that a painting is something to be viewed. It could illustrate a memory or something, and referring back to the meaning of the album, you know, Blue Neighborhood could be a memory or a fantasy for Troye, and this has been illustrated in something that kind of looks like a painting on the front cover of the album. Now for the font and the text, as you can see we've got Troye Sivan, which is in small print at the top, and it's in this slightly lighter blue, so it stands out against the background of the blue. It's a very simple font, it's quite thin, it's quite spread out in terms of spacing, and then underneath this we obviously have the title of the album, and this is done like paint strokes, like brush strokes I think. It definitely does look like that in my opinion, and it's in this kind of whitish peach colour, which again matches the sunset, and it definitely matches the colour of the clouds, and it definitely matches the rest of the photo and looks a bit like a painting, so it looks like it fits in on the sky just above Troy's head. Now, moving on to the back cover, it is very similar to the front cover, except we get a different angle of this background. It's just the sky and not the blue neighbourhood, so we can see definitely more clouds, and it is the same font as on the front cover. And we obviously do have the track list because people want to know what songs are on the CD and see if they recognise them from any singles or music videos that have been brought out prior to this. For example, Wild, which has its own cover for the single, so people might recognise this from the back of the track list and everything. So obviously, as well as the photo and the track list, we do have the barcode in the bottom left corner and some legal information in the top right corner. So we have the record label logo, which is EMI, which is very, very small in the corner, and we do have the legal information, which could be example copyright, not obviously using this piece of music as your own because it does belong to the record label and Troy himself. So obviously this legal information just has to be placed on the album so that people purchasing it and using it must know. Now onto the spine of the CD, which not many people would notice, but if it's on a shelf you might see it more. You can see Troy's name on it. It has the background from both the back and the front cover. It's the same background, obviously, same colours, same theme. We have Troy's name, the name of the album, and we also do again have the record label logo. In very, very small print in the corner of the spine we do have some numbers, and upon further research I found out this was the catalogue number. And the catalogue number is often found on the spine, the disc, and the booklet inside, the little sleeve. Now the catalogue number is different for each CD, it's unique. Its purpose is to be used for tracking by both the distributor and the record label, so this will often be seen throughout the album, so that way it could be tracked, say if it's been delivered or it's gone to different stores. Now we move on to the inside of the CD case, and obviously we have the disc. And the disc in this video is obviously white, and as you can see the blue neighbourhood is written in a pastel blue, and then at the bottom we have Troy's name and EMI, which is in a peach colour. So this obviously does match the front cover of the album, so there is continuity within the whole album, and it's really, really nice. It's really simple. We've got the same font and everything. I think it's really, really simple, but again it does match the conventions of electropop in terms of colour. And if we take the disc out, which is what is shown in this video, we can see we have the front cover photo again, except there's one difference. Troy isn't in it, only a white silhouette, and this silhouette is white rather than black. And I think the reason for this is obviously it's to match the colour scheme, because the colour theme isn't really dark greys and blacks, it's whites and peach and pastels, so it definitely matches. And the connotations I get from this is that the white silhouette is kind of ghostly, it's kind of dreamy, which again matches dream pop. And I would say my own little theory about this is that you take the disc out, maybe a part of Troy is gone because he's put himself into that disc, that music, these songs. The songs are all contained in this disc. The songs are all written by Troy. So obviously the music is a part of him, so if you take away the disc, behind is a photo with him missing because he is a part of the music. That is something that I think is just, you know, part of the album. It could be true, it could not be, but this is what I think when I look at the album. Now onto the other side, the sleeve. It is obviously a little booklet, so the back of it, which you can see when you open it up, says "Leave this blue neighbourhood." It's Troy's aesthetic. As you can see, we've got the little brush strokes, we've got loads of different colours going on. At the bottom on the back side of the sleeve we do have the legal information again, and obviously next to the legal information we do have the catalogue code, which is again seen on the disc. So obviously, like I said, it's in these three places. And yeah, so what happens is in this video, as you can see, he will flick through the booklet and it has the name of all of the songs that are included, which is obviously on the track list as well. But the difference is, in this booklet we have the lyrics of the songs shown, obviously very, very condensed into small paragraphs, but they're there. So if the audience wants to listen to the album and they can read along to the lyrics as well, it's there. And they also have just pages with some nice lyrics that are very, very meaningful to Troy, ones that stand out, for example in Youth or Wild, because these were made into music videos, so these would be recognisable by the audience as well. So yeah, this booklet's really cool. Obviously the photos do again match the colour scheme. It refers to the blue neighbourhood, it's got the pinks and the blues and everything, matching the front cover of the album. And at the end of all this, where there's different pages with little paragraphs listing the lyrics, we do have a thank you note from Troy himself, and this is very commonly seen in albums, as it is also shown in Halsey's album, which I will be showing you in a bit. Yeah, so he's got a thank you note because this is his first major album which he's been working on. So yeah, that's basically it for the album. We've spoken about the front, back cover, we've spoken about the inside, the disc and everything. It is a really, really cool album. It obviously matches the conventions of an electropop genre, and so does his music, so there's a lot of continuity in that. And yeah, that is it for Troye Sivan and my Digipak research. So now we move on to the second album, Badlands by Halsey. And I have a copy myself. So we're going to talk about the meaning of the album first. So obviously I did research, and Badlands apparently to Halsey was her state of mind whilst writing the album. This is her first proper album since Room 39, which was just a small album with a few tracks on it. So this probably was quite stressful for her, and at the same time, Badlands can actually also represent this dystopian society which she has created, and it can also be an escape for her. She might seek some optimism and escape from reality, and she can go into this little world called Badlands, and obviously she's projected this into her music and put it in a CD for her audience to do the same, or her audience could escape to essentially Badlands and listen to her tracks. So now onto the front cover. I'd say that this is very similar to Troy's album, which I just spoke about in terms of the colour. We do have blues and pinks and purples and everything, again matching the conventions of electropop. So for the front cover, as we can see, we do have the blue background here, and we can see Halsey with her blue hair as well, and she's wearing this like furry coat which is pink as well, which stands out and also matches her face colour, as this is obviously been edited and colour corrected and everything. And we obviously do have this rock or like cliff behind her, which essentially could represent the title of the album, Badlands. This is the land, and that she's visualising this is the place we call Badlands and everything. And like with Troy's other albums where his face is covered up by the title, so is Halsey's. As we can see here, Halsey's face is covered up by the title of the album, and obviously it's in white text, making it stand out against the vibrant colours in the background. And the font for this is actually quite simplistic. It's a bold, and at the same time the opacity isn't on 100, I'd say. I'd say there is some transparency to it, as if it's degrading slightly, like the Badlands which Halsey talks about. So obviously I've listened to the album, and I know that the songs do have some derogatory terms in them. So obviously here, for legal issues, we do have the parental advisory explicit content sticker, which is good to have because obviously this album may not be suitable for the younger audience due to these terms. Another thing which is really cool about the front cover is that we obviously have this white border around it, except it looks like paper in my opinion, and it looks like as if this has been a photo that's been taken, like a Polaroid almost. That's what I think this matches, and I think it's really cool. We have the number 17 here, could represent something to do with Halsey personally. Now onto the side, it's obviously the spine here is just plain white. Obviously it's got that weird paper texture to it, and it's just again in black bold font. We've got Badlands.Halsey as the title and the artist, and we also now can see the catalogue number and the logo for the record label. So obviously the record label that Halsey was signed onto at the time is Astralwerk, so we have the logo here, and we also have the catalogue number like with Troy's album, so that way the distributor and the record label can track it. And obviously I can show you that this is indeed shown on the sleeve and the disc. So for the back of the album, again we have a little bit of a snippet here of the front. I think it's from a different angle, it does look different, but we have the same colouring and everything. And here it looks like a tear in paper, so that's what I thought, you know, it's got a bit of some paper texture, and it's quite clever because obviously you're writing the track list here. Obviously the track list, as you can see, doesn't look like it's written with pen, but it's quite clever, I think. And so we've got the track list here, it's all just written straight down in this bold black font. At the bottom we do have the link to Halsey's website and the link to the record label that she's signed onto. So again, we have the legal information here which can be found on the website in my opinion, and we've got the logo, and you know, we've got the barcode here as well. So the legal information just basically specifies copyright. It says here all rights reserved, unauthorized copying, reproduction, etc. So obviously they want to list this out to make sure no one goes against that. So now we move on to the inside of the CD, and the disc, I really like the colour of it. Definitely matches the pink on the front cover, like with Halsey's jacket and everything. So for the disc, I'll just take it out. As we can see, it's a really, really nice vibrant pink colour, and again, it matches the conventions of electropop because these are the colours that are associated with the genre. We've got the parental advisory sticker here just to remind people, obviously the CD is not for like the younger audience. And again, we have the bold white text that is shown on the front cover with the artist and the name of the album. We've got the record label logo here again, and like I said, which was on the back, we do have the legal information to make sure no one goes against that. So yeah, it's quite a simple design for a disc, but I think it's really clever. I really like the colour. It definitely does show to me that this is quite electropop, it's quite bold. Now behind the disc we can obviously see another photo of Halsey herself, which is a lot more clearer. It doesn't have this weird effect on it which makes it look quite like a sketch again, like with Troy. And she's not covered up by some text. However, like with the front cover, she is not looking at the camera, she's side on, so this could be a recurring theme for her. So now we'll move on to the final part of the album, which is the sleeve, and once again we do see the catalogue number here, so it is shown in those three places, the spine, the sleeve and the disc. And so on the back here we do have Badlands shown again, and we do have a little border here of the background, which is again shown on the front cover, and it's just a brief thank you note from Halsey, in which she does say thank you for the people who helped make her record, and she does name people who like helped her along the way, people who kept her sane, and how it was a whirlwind of creative therapy. It's just a thank you note, which again is shown in Troy's album. It's definitely something that I think is common to be seen in these albums. What we have here, unlike Troy's, we do not have the lyrics for the songs, as this is just a 2-page spread, but we do have the list of all the songs, all the tracks, and with it we have names of people who produced the song, who wrote it, who published it. So here we just have, you know, the songs and like credit to the people who did help write it and help produce it alongside Halsey. Right, time to quickly move on to the vinyl, which I conveniently have here. So obviously the front cover is going to be the same, and there is a difference in the back though. So obviously we've got the track list here, but for the purposes of a vinyl we obviously have to list which tracks are going to be on a side A and which tracks are going to be on a side B. We open it up in a side, so we obviously have the photo that was shown behind the disc in the CD, and obviously here it's enlarged. We've got the full photo here, the full landscape rather than the square. Here we've got the same thank you note that is shown in the CD. Here again we just have the list of the tracks and the credit, you know, to people who've done it and everything, who've worked on it. So this is really, really cool. Obviously, as you can see, it's blue, which matches, you know, the CD and everything, matches the front cover, and it's very different because usually for vinyls they're just black and you've got the sticker here. So that is it for my Digipak research so far. I've talked about Halsey and Troye Sivan. My next step will be looking at Mania by Fall Out Boy, in which I did the website research for them. Unfortunately, like with Blue Neighborhood, I don't have the album for Mania, and I did browse online and there weren't many unboxings for this because it's a new album that came out about 2 months ago. So what I will do, I'll have to put this into a PowerPoint or a written text, which I will put underneath the video.
Lights start flashing like a photo.